Hey, hi, Shani.
Hello, Loretta. How are you?
I'm good. It's so nice to have you here. I am really excited to introduce you to everyone and your journey and talking about that. You've had such a transformation. You've experienced such a transformation throughout the last couple of years since I've been working with you, and I'd love for you just to start with by introducing yourself to everyone, and then just getting into, I guess, telling people a little bit about your Reiki journey, like when you started and how long it's been since you finished your Mastership as well.
Yay! Hello, everyone. Thank you so much, Loretta, for introducing me, and also thank you so much for being my master and holding space for me as I've gone on this beautiful journey. So I'm the founder of Playful Soul. I have recently relocated from Melbourne, Australia, back to Morrinsville, New Zealand. And so kind of a little bit about my journey. I was once quite a big skeptic to the energy world. I think learning how to surrender was a big part of my journey, which we'll touch on a little bit further. But for me, it was about what kind of led me into Reiki was I had quite a few health challenges in my early 20s. After leaving home base, which is now in New Zealand, for Melbourne, I kind of got a wake-up call 9 months in, and I ended up in chronic pain from a back injury and not wanting surgery, but getting towards the end of the period that I was allowed to not have surgery, I kind of got my big wake up call. And it was in that moment that I decided, if this is what, for me, it felt like hell, if this is what hell feels like, I'm going to spend the rest of my life, creating the opposite, which is more, joy and pleasure and heaven kind of on earth. And so that kind of led me down a path of opening my eyes to alternative therapies. And I remember seeing an Instagram, which, Loretta, I actually think you have that same video on your website at the moment. I remember seeing that video come up on my Instagram feed, and I went, right, I'm going to try it. And so I remember going into my first session with Loretta, and she was kind of like, intuition needs a little bit of work. And what kind of happened afterwards, right, was so many things started unfolding in my life that I couldn't explain. And it was essentially the universe's way of clearing out everything that was no longer serving me to open up space to all this beautiful and wonderful adventure that I've since gone on. So I did my first Reiki level 1s on the 23rd of September 2018. And I believe I booked in the day before. And Loretta was actually about to go on maternity leave. And I had such a powerful experience with the healings that I was receiving from Loretta that I went, I don't want to lose this. And so the journey to becoming my own healer really started to unfold. And so I did my level 1s in September. My level 2s I did at the end of November 2018. And then I took a little bit of time to warm. I wasn't ready to go straight into my 3As in Mastership. I remember talking to a few other members of the Nourished Energy community in about September 2019 to kind of get more of a feel of it, but I wasn't quite ready yet. So I waited until the 13th of July 2019 to do my 3As. And then the wonderful Mastership journey finished on the 3rd of December 2019. So I'm pretty sure there was only 2 weeks between level 3s and Mastership. So I was like, let's go all in, like let's clear whatever's not serving me so that I can receive more love. And Loretta will say also, there was a really profound moment partway through my Mastership where I fully surrendered. So I don't know if you want me to share about that too, Loretta.
Oh, go for it.
So I must have been maybe session like 6 or 7 in my Mastership journey, and I fully surrendered. And so for me, what that felt like was Loretta held incredible space for me to go go in and then go into a completely different world where there was just so much love. And so it was like my heart finally opened, and it was like turning on, you know, your kitchen sink tap to full ball. There was just all this love coming into my heart, and my whole body was going on this like massive waves and hot cold sensation. It was just going on this incredible journey. And for me, really in that moment, it was like, as human beings, we have no idea how powerful we are until we fully surrender to opening our heart to love. So for me, that was such an incredible experience, and one I will always hold and share on my journey, because it was magical. And I'm sure it was for you too, Loretta.
Oh yeah, absolutely. You know, as you know now, that when you hold that space for somebody else, it's just as powerful and just as impactful on you as a practitioner as it is for your clients. So yeah, it's moments like that you know, it's every moment that is amazing, but when something as pivotal as that on your journey, and that was so significant, as you mentioned, because I remember one of the goals of your mastership was I mean, you had this level of awareness when you came into the mastership that I feel like, you know, you said, I feel like my heart isn't open, and I want to do that. And you know, I think it's really key to say as well that it is such a journey, right? We start, the irony is that level one is all about opening the heart, right? It is trying to really get you to surrender and trust in receiving unconditional love. But I think this is just a really good example of how it can take time, and how it doesn't matter how much Reiki you do or how much you work on yourself. It's really just about honoring where you're at on your journey and allowing the right time to kind of, you know, for it to play out, and knowing that that when it is the right time, that it is going to happen. And a modality such as Reiki is so powerful in meeting you wherever you're at, and offering you that space, you know, to be held, to be loved, and to really nurture whatever it is that you're needing to. I want to talk about when I first met you, and I know that you mentioned that things started changing as soon as we had our first session together. And I do remember that. I remember you coming back. I think you came back after about a month or so. And you came in, and you were always so inquisitive and so curious, and I loved the questions you would always ask, and I could kind of hear your brain ticking away, like trying to make sense of all this. Like, but how is this all working? It just I'm not there to trust just yet, but I need to understand logically how this is all happening for me. But one of the things that I remember was immediately you started to notice the synchronicities in your life and things taking place for particular. You could see things coming into an alignment for you. And it was one of the something that I've always admired about you is the incredible ability for you to have that awareness from so early on, our very first session. And then you were like, and you took everything on, you know, everything that I would talk about and everything that and I could feel and just, I could totally understand your commitment to improving your health and well-being. And you've really, you know, you, even throughout the mastership, you were so committed to really opening your heart to achieving the goals that you really wanted to. And you know, that's not about Reiki or me. Like, that is a testament to you, to showing up and you doing that work and consistently really doing it. And that's the thing, right? In order to really be the best version of ourselves, we need to do that work. You know, you can't just give your power over to a modality or a crystal, or, you know, whatever it is. You actually need to do that inner work, and you have continued to really do that. I know during our mastership you were still working in the corporate world, and I know that you were constantly realizing the realization of just how much that was affecting your energy was started to really come through for you. And I know it's taken a little bit of time, but you've finally honored that and taken another step forward in your creating the life that you want. So I'd love you to share a little bit about, I guess, since the Mastership. So it's nearly been 12 months now.
I know.
Yeah, it's amazing. Since the Mastership, how has, what's changed for you? What kind of experiences do you feel like has been integrated and processed since that time?
What hasn't changed, Loretta? So basically, when I finished my Mastership at the end of last year, right, I had all these goals to set up. What I didn't realize was that I still needed to go on more of a personal journey to end up to the space where I am now at. And so when you look it's always one of those things, right? You can't necessarily connect the dots looking forward, but you can always connect the dots looking backwards. And so after my Mastership, what I really loved was Loretta was also always there throughout my journey, right? Because just because you finished a Mastership, your journey of life learning still continues. And you were touching on that curiosity element before. And I think for me, in my early 20s, I'd taken expert advice on that there was nothing I could do for my body to kind of heal itself. And so I gave away my power. And with Reiki, right, it was like, oh, I can get curious. I can find out things. And it wasn't about going, this is right or this is wrong. It was like, oh, I wonder why, what energy and I'm sitting at. And the more that I grew, the more fun that you can just kind of have. Because, we've all got programs, right? Knowing that those programs can shift can make a massive difference. So for me, after my Mastership, then it was really about, well, how do I set up my life and what does that look like moving forward? And so I was beginning to build it. So I launched my business at the end of Feb, and then obviously COVID hit in March, and I was still working full time. And look, I was in a very, safe job, especially during COVID. So the universe was definitely supporting me in that moment. And I started to build healings up on the side. But then what kind of happened was I hit burnout because I wasn't in a job that lit me up. And I was spending all this time doing healings on the side. I didn't really have a work-life balance. And so I knew, and then I wasn't living also in the best environment for my soul. So I'm originally from the country. I was living in an apartment. Getting close to nature and being able to ground myself was just a little bit harder. And so I ended up moving homes, and then knew that August was going to be a month of change. And what kind of came through was actually, it was time to move home. It was time to leave the corporate job, and it was time to really trust that the next moment will unfold as it's meant to. And so I sat on it. I sat on the decision to move back to New Zealand for a week, making sure it wasn't just an emotional, rational decision, but it was clear communication that it was time to go home. And so I just honored that. And so now what my journey is it's honoring my intuition. It's honoring that inner guidance. And knowing that I have a great set of tools. If I don't have the tools, then I know that I'll find someone with the right tools to kind of help me on my journey. And for me, that's super powerful, right? Because it's with having the right tools that we can truly become who we really want to. And so for me, and Loretta, Reiki's come in, and that's really helped shape it. And how there's nothing better than having unconditional love as your guiding compass. Like, magical things happen. And so it's really trusting in the magic of every day too, and the magic of every moment. So often we say something's good or something's bad, but what about just experiencing the moment for the joy that there is in the moment? So yeah, so that's about where I am at the moment.
I absolutely love listening to you speak because, Shani, I know there was a time in your Mastership where surrendering and letting go and just enjoying life and enjoying the moment was a really big challenge for you. Do you want to talk a little bit about that? And I guess how you've grown through that too.
So for me, and I don't know when I adopted this mindset, but I had quite a serious nature, right? I thought that I had to achieve things through hard work, through being serious, and through not necessarily enjoying the small moments, which is also why I've called my business Playful Soul, because our soul just wants to play. And for me, that was such a big thing that kept coming up in my mastership. Like, I was taking on so much responsibility that wasn't my energy to actually hold on to. And Loretta was very helpful with making me, realize that. And so I was taking so much responsibility on, and I kind of lost the joy in the moment of daily life. And, now I wake up and, after you've meditated, I'm like, I want to move my body, like I want to have a boogie. And you also just, I'm living more in the moments for the goodness that the moments bring, not trying to, I used to try and control everything or plan everything down to a T, being like, and then obviously when expectations don't quite live up to it, then you sit in more like lower vibrations. And I'm like, I don't really want to do this. And so for me, it was all about, the journey really started off about reclaiming my physical well-being, because I'd lost that. And so once I regained my health, then I could start building on other things, like obviously my career, relationships, environments, everything like that. It's all interconnected. And I wish I had this knowledge at such a younger age, because when we start to see how each component interlinks, if we change something on one, how that changes everything else. And I think that's just super powerful. And
so powerful.
yeah.
Yeah. Did you have any other, I guess, when you think about working with me, was there any other highlights that you can speak about?
Oh, where do we start? So, first what I want to say is I've always loved just feeling such a warm space that you walk into. So, whether you're just starting on your healing journey or whether you're further along in a master, having someone enter your personal energetic field is such an incredible honor and privilege. And so what it is Loretta's always opened a space where I've felt safe to be vulnerable. And as someone who never used to cry in person, it was big. And so I think, especially as you're changing programs and all that type of thing, having someone that you feel connected with, that you trust, and that, you genuinely know they're holding loving space for you and they care about the type of life that you want to create for yourself. I mean, nothing's more powerful than that. And yeah, I just, Loretta, I always, when you say, can you jump on a call, I'm always like, yes, I'm more than happy to jump on, because when someone comes into your life and gives you tools that change your life, you want to keep that flow happening. And so, Loretta, from the bottom of my heart, I'm so grateful for that Instagram story that you posted in 2018, and for coming into my life and helping me to have the tools to continuously grow in my own life, and also knowing that you're always there. Loretta's support didn't stop at the end of the mastership. It continues. And I'm a year past my mastership, and Loretta and I are still in contact, once a couple of times a week. So that journey still continues. And so, Loretta, from the bottom of my heart, thank you so much.
Oh, thank you, Shawnee. Thank you so much. Honestly, it's such an honor working with someone who is so coachable. As a coach yourself, you know that when people show up and they're like, yes, I'm wanting to do the work, and I'm willing and I'm curious, and that's really what's required. So thank you so much. And tell us what's next, like what's happening now. You've mentioned that you are starting to set up your business back in New Zealand. So talk a little bit about that.
So I'm setting up, and I'm living at my parents at the moment. So I'm stealing the office and taking that over and making that into a healing room. So I'm just in the process of doing that. I'm holding a few free workshops in the local areas just to kind of get my name out there, because for me, you know, being in Melbourne, I was surrounded by a beautiful community of people that were all on the same path. And so for me now, it's a lot about education and getting people to get curious. And so, yes, I've got a few free events. So between now and the end of the year, I'm hoping to have at least 5 to 6 free events going up. I've also, and aside to the Reiki business and coaching business, I'm also getting into real estate. So I started my papers today. And so, yeah, so the journey continues.
So amazing. So amazing. And Shawnee's also going to start teaching next year.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, so once I've got a lovely community of people in New Zealand, then the teaching begins, which you know, in my mastership as my final thing, Loretta was just like, Shawnee, you were born to teach. So I'm itching to start teaching next year. And I also have the wonderful guidance of Loretta helping me with the Reiki teacher training, because that's obviously a new phase of my growth as well. So yeah.
I remember during your level 3A, and I remember saying to you, I can see you teaching in New Zealand. And I didn't know, because at that stage you were very much staying in Melbourne. I love Melbourne, but I just saw you teaching in New Zealand. And so, you know, if anyone is wanting to learn Reiki in New Zealand, I would incredibly definitely, absolutely tell you to go and see Shawnee, because she is an absolute born teacher, and the passion that she brings to talking about Reiki and sharing it with others is absolutely phenomenal. And I love bringing her into my classes. And so for some of you, you may have seen Shawnee on either the information seminars or in the or also in the actual teaching sessions as well. She's just got this incredible natural ability, and I'm just so excited for you. This is just so beautiful. Watching someone actually step into and honor their soul purpose just makes my heart so full. So thank you so much. Okay, awesome. I will see you very soon.
You will. Take care, lovely.
Bye.